Reading a magazine article. A magazine article is designed to catch and hold your interest. Learning how to recognize the items on a magazine page will help you read even the most complicated articles. Look at the sample magazine article as you read each strategy below. A. Read the title and other headings to get an idea of what the article is about. Frequently, the title presents the article's main topic. Smaller headings may introduce subtopics related to the main topic. Note: introductory text that is set off in some way, such as indented paragraph or a passage in a different typeface. This text is often summarizes the article. Pay close attention to terms in italics or boldface. Look for definitions or explanations before or after these terms. Study visuals, photos, pictures, or maps. Visuals help bring the topic to life and enrich the text. Look for special features such as charts, tables, or graphs that provide more detailed information on the topic or on a subtopic. And the questions you'll be asked at the end of the article include: what is the article's main topic? Underline the sentence that explains how fireflies get their fire. Because we're doing this through EdPulse, you won't underline, but instead you will just write it out, so you have to find it. Number the sentences that describe the different stages of the life cycle of a firefly. What happens soon after a firefly mates? How do the visuals help you understand the article, and what information appears in the box? So let's take a look at the article titled "The Lure of Light." For humans, cosmic showers are awe-inspiring. For fireflies, lights closer to home mean it's time to mate. Also called lightning bugs and glowworms, fireflies belong to the beetle family Lampridae. Their bioluminescent fire comes from luciferin, a compound that reacts with oxygen, and luciferase, an enzyme that makes this reaction possible. Scientists are studying ways to use luciferase to highlight abnormal cells in people. Most fireflies look for mates on warm summer evenings. Each species seems to have its own light signal. The male firefly flies around flashing his light signal. When the flightless female perched on a plant sees the appropriate signal, she responds by flashing her light. The male flies toward her, repeating his signal. Fireflies die within days after mating. Their young hatch is a worm-like larvae. They hide on land or underwater, eat, grow, molt, and grow some more. After several months, each larvae buries itself in an underground chamber where it transforms into an adult firefly. The adult then chews through its chamber wall, pushes up to the surface, and searches for a mate. The lure of light begins again. In the box here, bioluminescent means emitting visible light in a living organism. Molt means to shed a body covering. So here is a picture of the whole article. Reading a textbook. The first page of a textbook lesson introduces you to a particular topic. The page also provides important information that will guide you through the rest of the lesson. Look at the sample textbook page as you read each strategy below. Preview the title and other headings to find out the lesson's main topic and related subtopics. Look for a list of terms or vocabulary words. These words will be identified and defined throughout the lesson. Read the main idea, objectives, or focus. These items summarize the lesson and establish a purpose for your reading. Find words set in a special type, such as italics or boldface. Also look for material in parentheses. Boldface is often used to identify the vocabulary terms in the lesson. Material in parentheses may refer to another page or visual in the lesson. Notice text on the page that is set off in some way. For example, text placed in a tinted or colored box may be from a primary source or a quotation that gives first-hand knowledge or historical perspective on a topic. Examine visuals, such as photos and drawings and their captions. Visuals can help the topic come alive. The questions you will look to answer as we read the article. What does this lesson focus on? Circle the vocabulary terms that will be defined in the lesson. Draw a box around the lesson's main idea. Put a check mark beside the quotation. Who is being quoted? Where did the Assyrians come from? So some of these, obviously, we can't draw on Edpuzzle, but what we can do is identify them, and we will do that. Your title is Assyria Dominates the Fertile Crescent. Terms to know: Assyria, Sennacherib, Nineveh, Assurbanipal, Medes, Chaldeans, Nebuchadnezzar. Assyrians developed a military machine, conquered an empire, and established imperial administration. Some leaders still use military force to extend their rule. stamp out opposition, and gain wealth and power. Setting the stage. For more than 2 centuries, the Assyrian army advanced across southwest Asia. It overwhelmed foes with its military strength. After the Assyrians seized control of Egypt, the Assyrian king Esarhaddon proclaimed, "I tore up the root of Cush, and not one therein escaped to submit to me." The last Cushite pharaoh retreated to Napata, Cush's capital city. A mighty military machine. Beginning around 1850 BC, Assyria acquired a large empire. It accomplished this by means of a sophisticated military organization and state-of-the-art weaponry. For a time, this campaign of conquest made Assyria the greatest power in Southwest Asia. The rise of warrior people. The Assyrians came from the northern part of Mesopotamia. Their flat, exposed farmland made them easy to attack. Invaders swept down from the nearby mountains. The Assyrians may have developed their warlike behavior in response to these invasions. Lacking natural barriers such as mountains or deserts, they repelled invaders by developing a strong army. Through constant warfare, Assyrian kings built an empire that stretched from far east and north of the Tigris River all the way to central Egypt. One of the Assyrian kings, Sennacherib, bragged that he had sacked 89 cities and 820 villages, buried Babylon, and ordered most of its inhabitants killed. Centuries later, in the 1800s, the English poet George Gordon, Lord Byron, romanticized the Assyrians' bloody exploits in a poem, A Voice About the Pasts. The Assyrian came down like wolf on the fold, and his cohorts were gleaming in purple and gold, and the sheen of their spears was like stars on the sea, when the blue waves roll nightly on deep Galilee. Military organization and conquest. Assyria was a society which glorified military strength. Its soldiers were well equipped for conquering an empire, making use of the iron working technology of the time. The soldiers covered themselves in stiff leather and metal armor. They wore copper or iron helmets, padded loincloths, and leather skirts layered with metal scales. Their weapons were iron swords and iron-pointed spears. Infantry, archers, and spear throwers protected themselves with huge shields. Advanced planning and technical skill allowed the Assyrians to lay siege to enemy cities. When deep water blocked their passage, engineers would bridge the rivers with pontoons or floating structures used to support a bridge, tying inflated animal skins. So off to the left here, this detail of a sandstone relief shows us an Assyrian soldier with a shield and iron-tipped spear. Vocabulary. Siege is a military blockade to force a city to surrender. Off on the right, think through history. Analyzing causes. What caused Assyrians to develop a strong army and a large empire? A. Possible answer. No natural barriers to invasion, needed strong army to repel invaders. Constant warfare produced a large empire. Take a look at the whole article. Moving on here to reading a table. Tables hold a lot of information in an organized way. These tips can help you read a table quickly and accurately. Look at the example as you read each strategy and list. Read the title to find out the content of the table. Read the information to get a general overview of the information included in the table. Look at the heading in each row and column. To find specific information, find the place where a row and column intersect, and check the credit to see if the information is up to date and from a respected source. So here is our table, and we'll come back to that in just a second, but things to consider as you are looking at said table. Which planet has the strongest surface gravity? Which planet is about 10 times farther from the Sun than Earth? Which planet is more massive, Earth or Venus? So those are things you want to look for as we take a look at the table. Here is the table. Reading a map. To read a map correctly, you have to identify and underline its elements. Look at the example below as you read each strategy in the list. Scan the title to understand the content of the map. Study the key or legend to figure out which symbols and colors on the map stand for what they stand for. Use geographical labels to understand specific places on a map. Look at the pointer or compass rose to determine direction. Here's your map, which we'll come back to, but I want to look at the questions first. What is the purpose of this map? What does this specific symbol mean? Circle the cities where rain is indicated. What seems to be the relationship between rain and cold fronts? Draw a star next to the names of the coldest cities in the country. So here is our map. I'll zoom out just a little bit so we have the whole thing. Reading a diagram. Diagrams combine pictures with a few words to provide a lot of information. Look at the example on the opposite page as you read each of the following strategies. Look at the title to get a quick idea of what the diagram is about. Study the images closely to understand each part of the diagram, and look at the captions and labels for more information. So these are the questions that we will look at before we look at, or while we look at the diagram. These are important questions. What is the diagram about? What is an updraft? What are two forces represented by the arrows in the mature stage? Circle the arrows representing the force that is growing stronger in this stage. Why does the cloud begin to evaporate in the dissipating stage? So here is your diagram. Consider the cumulus stage, the mature stage, and the dissipating stage when answering the questions at the right now. Main idea and supporting details. The main idea in a paragraph is its most important point. Details in the paragraph support the main idea. Identifying the main idea will help you focus on the main message the writer wants to communicate. Use the following strategies to help you identify a paragraph's main idea and supporting details. Look for the main idea, which is often the first sentence in a paragraph. Use the main idea to help you summarize the point of the paragraph. Identify specific details, including facts and examples that support the main idea. So here is a sample, and we'll take a look at the one that you'll have to comment on in just a moment. Bats are nocturnal animals, animals that are awake during the night and sleep during the day. That's your main idea. The details come out in the subsequent sentences. Just before dark, bats wake up from their slumber. At dusk, they begin their search for food. Most eat insects, but some also eat fruit, pollen, or nectar. After feeding, bats rest, and then may eat again. After dawn, they return to their roost for a good day's sleep. So that's the details that support the main idea. So let's take a look at this sentence here. What we'll do is we'll identify the main idea, and then there will be a list, 1, 2, 3, and you'll have to identify the main supporting details from the sentence or from the paragraph. When a volcano erupts, it produces molten rock called lava. Lava is extremely hot when it first escapes, but it hardens as it cools. There are two kinds of lava. One is fast and fluid, while the other is slow and sticky. So you have to identify those parts. Here is the whole page. I apologize for the copy here, but it does say problem and solution. The proposed solution to a problem makes sense. In order to decide, you need to look at each part of the text. Use the following strategies to help read the text. Find the statement of the problem, find the details, find the proposed solution, the supporting details, and think about whether the solution is a good one. Here is the statement of the problem and the explanation of the problem. The questions we are going to look at as we read that is underline a proposed solution in the third paragraph. Circle at least one detail that supports the solution. Do you think the solution is a good one? Explain why or why not. So as we zoom in here to the statement of the problem and the whole paragraph, I'll see if I can get it all on the page. Statement of the problem. The intersection at 4th and D Street, 2 blocks from our school, is an accident waiting to happen. Cars speed down the street while students stand at the crosswalk. Every day there are few drivers who barely slow down, creating a dangerous situation. Currently, there is no stop sign at this intersection. Although the intersection is 2 blocks away from the school, many students use it because D Street connects the school with the subway station. Every morning and afternoon, hundreds of students and teachers cross the intersection at 4th and D Streets. So there is our statement of the problem and explanation of the problem. The city should put a stop sign at this intersection and station adult crossing guards there. The presence of a stop sign will be a signal to motorists, and the crossing guard will make sure that students know when it is safe to cross. These safety measures will make the streets safer for students and teachers as well as drivers. So your question is, underline the proposed solution in the third paragraph. Circle at least one detail that supports the solution. Do you think the solution is a good one? Explain why or why not. So those questions will be at the right in just a second here while I get the whole text on the page. Cause and effect. A cause is an event that brings about another event. An effect is something that happens as a result of the first event. Identifying causes and effects helps you understand how events are related. The tips below can help you find causes and effects in any reading. Look for an action or event that answers the question, what will happen? This is the effect. Look for an action or event that answers the question, why did it happen? This is the cause. Identify words or phrases that signal causes and effects, such as because, as a result, therefore, thus, consequently, since, and led to. Mark it up. So we're going to read the cause and effects passage in just a moment here. Then we're going to answer these questions. Circle words in the passage that signal causes and effects. The first one is done for you. Sometimes a cause has more than one effect. Underline 2 problems that result when acid rain destroys the waxy coating on a plant's leaves. Use 3 of the causes and effects in the third paragraph to complete the following diagram. So this will be our diagram, and we will answer this in Edpuzzle, but let's read the article first. Acid rain. One of the more serious threats to our environment is acid rain. This term refers to the polluted precipitation such as rain, sleet, snow, or fog. The acid in acid rain comes from sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides. The presence of sulfur dioxide in nitrogen oxides is the air. It is caused by the burning of fossil fuels in automobiles, factories, and other energy plants. Once released into the atmosphere, sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides react with the moisture in the air, producing nitric acid and sulfuric acid. In the last 50 years, taller smokestacks in urban areas have allowed acid pollutants to be blown great distances by the wind. For this reason, acid rain has become a problem in rural as well as industrialized areas. Acid rain can hinder a plant's growth and reproduction by damaging the roots, destroying the nutrients in the soil, or inhibiting the plant's processing of nutrients. Acid rain also damages the protective waxy coating on a plant's leaves, thus making plants more vulnerable to disease and adverse weather conditions such as strong wind, heavy rain, or drought. Another harmful effect of acid rain is that the water in rivers, lakes, and streams can become more acidic, threatening fish and other aquatic life. It dissolves metals such as mercury and aluminum, which are found in the surrounding soil and rocks. These toxic elements are then carried into the water supply where they can poison plants and wildlife. Acid rain can lead to serious health problems if people drink water contaminated with aluminum or eat fish tainted with mercury. There are certain ways to counteract the effects of acid rain, such as adding lime to lakes and rivers, which temporarily reduces their acidity. However, this may have its own harmful side effects. It may be more effective to reduce the pollution at its source by removing sulfur and nitrogen compounds from fuel or by burning less fossil fuels altogether. Here's the whole article, which is posted in Edpuzzle, and the questions are there as well right now. Comparison and contrast. Comparing two things means showing how they are the same. Contrasting two things means showing how they are different. Comparisons and contrasts are often used in science and history books to make subject matter clearer. Use these tips to help you understand comparison and contrast in reading assignments such as the article on the opposite page. Look for direct statements of comparison and contrast. These things are similar because, or one major difference is. Pay attention to the words or phrases that signal comparisons, such as also, both, is the same as, or in the same way. Notice words and phrases that signal contrasts. Some of these are however, still, but, and on the other hand. Read the essay on the opposite page, then use the information from the article and the tips above to answer the questions. Circle the words and phrases that signal comparisons. A sample has been done for you. Underline the words or phrases that signal contrast. A sample has been done for you. A Venn diagram shows how two different subjects are similar and how they are different. Complete this Venn diagram, which uses information from the essay to compare and contrast emotional and irritant tears, and at least one similarity in the middle of part of the diagram, and at least one difference in each outer circle. So we're going to take a look at the article in just a second, but we've got emotional tears, both, or irritant tears. What are tears is our article. Humans shed two kinds of tears. Irritant tears occur in response to irritating physical stimuli, while emotional tears occur in response to sadness, anger, joy, and other intense emotions. Both kinds of tears come from glands above the eye called lacrimal glands. The fluid from the lacrimal glands moistens the eyes and keeps them clear of foreign particles. With each blink, a little bit of fluid is secreted from the glands. Tears form when the lacrimal glands produce more fluid than can drain through the available ducts. Emotional tears occur when a strong feeling such as grief, anger, or joy causes the muscles around the lacrimal glands to tighten up and squeeze out excess fluid. These emotional tears differ from irritant tears, which occur in response to irritants such as smoke, onion vapors, or bits of dirt in the eye. Irritant tears have a clear purpose: to wash the eye and keep it moist. What is the purpose of emotional tears? Scientist William Fry suspects that the emotional tears might help relieve the body of chemicals that build up during stress. He conducted a study in which he compared irritant tears with emotional tears. To produce irritant tears, he exposed people to grated onions and collected resulting tears. Producing emotional tears was a little bit more complicated. What is the best way to make people cry without being mean to them? He finally decided to show them sad movies. Fry found that emotional tears were in fact different from irritant tears. For one thing, people tended to shed many more emotional tears than irritant tears. And while both kinds of tears contained the element manganese, emotional tears had a much higher concentration of protein. However, the reason for this difference was not clear. The mysterious causes and functions of tears are still being researched, but if you want to avoid shedding tears, stay away from onions and sad movies. At least that much is clear. Here is the whole article, and the questions are at the right.